So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jason Murphy, and I hope that everyone that's in the room now has at least been here before, either in this group or another Against the Stream group. And if you're absolutely new and you just kind of popped in, please just let us know. Just unmute yourself and say hi. All right. Then I guess we're the same motley crew, which, I like. I like that. All right, well, we're going to sit for a time. Oh, yeah, let me do the kind of intro. Okay, here we go. Click. Hey, Jason Murphy with Against the Stream. Welcome to the Wednesday night group. I'm going to continue on a theme as we do every week. We give a bit of a meditation, so a little bit of instruction, and then some discussion around a particular topic. I've been talking about the 10 paramis or the 10 perfections taught by Ajahn Sucitto, and I'll be continuing with that today. And so welcome to all of you. Thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and start with some meditation. And, normally when we're live, we actually kind of force you guys to talk and like say hi to someone next to you, or do have some kind of camaraderie or connection, because not only with me, I mean, my personal story is that I went to meditation groups as a young person. I was like in my 20s for years, really, but I mean, probably a year solid. I'm pretty gregarious, so I'll go talk to people, but many people, they would just come, meditate, listen to a Dharma talk, put some money in the basket and leave, and not actually communicate with each other, because Buddhism or meditation or something, it can feel pretty solitary. And so one of the things that we really try to do, and of course this is the best way to do it now, but is to really foster connection, foster some kind of communication with each other, because Sangha, community, is as important as silent meditation for the awakening of the heart and mind. So just kind of keep that in mind. Maybe in the future, and definitely, when we have, more of a group style, having communication, talking with each other. Of course, it's all easier to do when you're live, right? But just the fact that you're here is a sense of connection. We've all logged on, we've taken this time, and then even those people who are connecting later on YouTube. So just to kind of, take a moment to just kind of recognize that we're all here for the common purpose, which is to hopefully awaken or calm our minds or open our hearts or alleviate some fucking suffering, like something, that's why we're here. And it's useful, I think, to just take a moment and connect in with that. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Again, we've already started, but we're going to formally start a meditation practice. So getting in a posture that's workable, that's sustainable. And we're going to go through a body scan meditation practice today. And a body scan is just what it sounds like. We're going to use our awareness and scan through our bodies from feet to head, head to feet. And the hope, or the hope is that we would gain some concentrated awareness and some connection to this experience of the body. It's also one of the focused meditations for working with patients. So we'll go ahead and do that. Which For some people, laying down is actually, it's a good idea to lay down during this meditation. If it doesn't feel, if you don't feel comfortable, kind of sitting in your meditative posture. Um, Although if you're really sleepy, probably not a good idea to lay down, right? Because otherwise it'll be sleeping meditation, which is just kind of a different thing. I did a lot of that when I lived in the monastery. I did a lot of sleeping meditation, even though it's not suggested. All right. So it's helpful to allow the eyes to close or be downcast. Moving the body any way you feel like you need to or want to, kind of settling in. And then if you can, make a strong determination to try to not move during this formal meditation practice. Now, this isn't, we're not statues. And if something is bothering you, like there's pain involved, perhaps an adjustment is necessary. But the invitation is to be aware of whatever the instinct is to move before moving. Hearing the bell. Right, so in some way, bringing the attention to the breath, resting in this experience of breathing. Connecting the attention to the felt sense of breathing, the process of the air meeting the body in what we call a breath. The expansion and contraction of the lungs and the chest. We're not trying to control the breath or do anything special with it. Literally just allowing the body to breathe itself. And resting the attention or the awareness on that experience. Good, and then just knowing that at any point throughout this guided meditation, if you feel lost or the mind wanders off or you're not sure which part of the body we're scanning through, just come back here, just come back to the breath and rest in the expansion and contraction until you hear the next instruction. So if you can, aiming your attention towards the feet, the left foot, the right foot, bringing your awareness into the left foot, the right foot, their position, the temperature, the places of contact in the left foot, in the right foot, if you're wearing socks or shoes, or if you're barefoot. Just noticing what sensations are present in the left foot and the right foot. Seeing if you can breathe into this place. The bones, the muscles, the tissues, tendons, the skin. What's present here in this left foot and this right foot. And then with the same type of awareness, beginning to scan up from the feet to the ankles and shins, calves, knees, the thighs, the lower portion of the body. Just seeing what is present here from the feet to the hips. Again, bones, muscles, tendons, perhaps body hair. The different sensations that may be present in the left leg and the right leg. Touch points, places of contact. Finding whatever system works best for you, whether it's kind of sweeping or slowly moving incrementally from the shins or ankles to the upper thighs. Seeing if you can penetrate beyond the surface, the physical form, whatever sensations may be present there, warmth or cold, tingling. Is there a story? Noticing as we scan through the body, is there a story attached to this part or that part? If so, can we let that story go? Moving the attention now up the hips, systems, filtration, reproduction. This connection between the lower body and the upper body. beginning to slowly move into the guts, into the abdomen. Again, systems of digestion, reproduction, the different organs in the lower abdominal area. Back to the base of the spine. And one vertebra at a time, moving up the spine. Can we sense into the space in between the vertebra? The discs, the cartilage, part of the central nervous system. The contents of this body, the different organs, working without our interference, really. It's just automatic. Moving up the spine, just taking a moment with the diaphragm, this kind of cap. It's a muscle. Some separation from the abdominal wall to the lungs. Expanding to allow the lungs to bring in oxygenated air, to breathe, connecting with the ribs. What are you noticing here in the chest? Tracing the ribs to the sternum. What can you notice here? Strength and flexibility. The lungs expanding and contracting, filling the chest cavity. The heart pumping oxygenated blood, carrying it throughout every aspect of this body. What else can we notice here? Some people call this the seat of our emotional self, or the emotional body. reconnecting with the spine, the vertebra, the shoulder blades, the shoulders, the bones, moving out to the left shoulder and the right shoulder, moving down the left arm and the right arm. Again, bones and muscles and tendons, connective tissue, skin, body hair. What can be known here? What can be felt in the arms? Moving down towards the elbows and the forearm and the wrist. Again, contact, maybe atmosphere on the skin, clothing on the skin. Out to the fingers, the hands. What do you notice here? Left hand, right hand, places of contact. Warm, cold, wet, dry, tingling. What can you notice here? In the hands, the fingers, the fingertips, the nails. And when you're ready, beginning to move the awareness back up the arms to the shoulders, tracing the shoulders to the collarbone, to the throat, and the neck. Circles of awareness now around the neck and the throat. Again, softening, relaxing awareness. What can be known here? Circles of awareness now. Base of the skull, jaw, chin, teeth. Moving up the front of the face, around the ears, noticing what's present here, any tension, any holding. Can we soften? Base of the skull, back of the skull. Seeing the eyelids behind the eyes, the brow, forehead. Slowly moving the awareness to the very top of the head. And if you can, with each breath, we're going to shift to a sweeping practice. So we'll be sweeping with our awareness from the top of the head to the bottoms of the feet. Each breath, and just from the feet to the head and the head to the feet, scanning through. Seeing what's present. What can this body teach you? Noticing if there are aspects of this body that feel intolerant. Can we encourage a little tolerance, whether it's physical, emotional, energetic? Can we develop some patience with this body, this mind, as we sweep through head to feet, feet to head? Again and again, allowing the awareness to penetrate deeper into this body, this felt experience of phenomena, of breath, of sensations arising, staying for a time, and passing away. if there's any aspect of this body that we have judged or hated or criticized, any aspect of this physical form, can we send some kindness, some compassion? Is there a particular area in this body? Maybe there's what we would call pain, or there's some kind of energy. Can we rest our attention there? What would be maybe unpleasant? Can we breathe into that back pain or knee pain, migraine, sore elbow, broken heart? Can we breathe into it? Hold it with awareness. What's happening now? Has the mind abandoned the body? If so, it's not a problem. Just inviting it back, sweeping through one final reflection. Head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. Maybe use that as a bit of a mantra. Head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. Can you connect with each of them? Okay. That was a body scan plus. I kind of did a body scan with a little emotional intelligence and a little bit of compassion. Because it's all part of the same process, you know? So I guess what I would like to do before I move into the topic is open up for questions about the instructions I gave today. Also, if there was some, I'm try to keep it around the instructions because all of you had experiences. You all had experiences. Some of them were pleasant, some of them were unpleasant, some of them were insightful, some of them were, illusion. Some of you floated away into a story about your past. Some of you floated away to your story about the future. Some of you thought, I fucking got this. Like this, I'm the best meditator there is on the planet. And I'm going to be levitating soon. Yeah. And that's just experience arising, passing away. My hope is that if you share, that you're sharing either kind of insights that you came up with or something that you noticed about that particular experience. So if or any questions about the instruction. So we'll give it a minute or so if you have anything specific. Otherwise, I'll get into a topic. Or you can type the question or you can raise your hand. Okay. Well, Rick, is one aspect of what we are examining during such meditations is the distinction between our bodies and what we identify as me. Great question, Rick. That can come up. That's definitely a part of it. I think there's a number of things that happens with body-centered meditation practice. One is, yeah, the I, me, mine, like that kind of what is my body? Am I my body? That's a little bit like the kind of hair, nails, teeth, skin, like that kind of was it actually head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin it's a little bit like the Namyo Renge Kyo that somebody had mentioned before, head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin. You can kind of do that as a practice. And it is to kind of break through the delusion that we are this body. This body is just a series of parts. And that's part of what is supposed to happen, or can happen, I should say. It's not supposed to. Yeah. So, and then the other, I guess, I'll just say with the other things that I think are useful, or my experiences have been in regards to body-centered practice. One, concentration. The body likes to be paid attention to, in case you hadn't noticed. And um, there's this kind of attention to the aspects of the body that can help concentrate the mind, where we're just kind of not out here, we're actually kind of settling in to the left foot, the right foot, the arm, the elbow, the spine, that kind of stuff. So it's a concentrated practice in that way. And then also I feel like the emotional, like we have all these stories about our bodies, don't we? About what it used to be, what it could be, what it was, what it should be. Sometimes there's been times where I've scanned through and there's a certain part of my body, like, oh, I remember when I injured my shoulder, and I would get into some story about when I injured my shoulder. I spent a long time once, some time ago. I used to box, and I have a like scar tissue in my right nostril, and sometimes it really bothers me, and it makes it hard to breathe. And I would get stuck in this story of how I was sparring with this guy, and just the bringing it back, because I would start to feel the nasal passage closing or whatever, right? So yeah, so there's all that. There's a lot that can be found in this body. So thanks for bringing that question up. Anything else on the body or on the practice? Okay. So I'm going to get into the topic for tonight, and then we'll open up again for some other questions. And so the topic for tonight is patience. And patience is the next aspect of the 10 paramis, or the 10 perfections. And why this happens. So and I've been using this book called Parami. It's by Ajahn Suchito. It's a great book. It's free online. They'll be posted. And Ajahn Suchito just has a very eloquent way of unpacking this list of teachings, and very thorough. Very, you can really, even stuff like tonight's topic, patience, or last week, and I've been working with this. I don't know if you guys worked with this at all, but I worked with this week. Last week we talked about effort and energy, and I've really been kind of sussing out kind of the difference, like in my own practice, between when is applying effort in my life or in my practice necessary, and then when is kind of protecting or re-energizing, either protecting my energy from external sources, or reinvigorating my energy through internal resourcing. I've really been kind of working with that this week and seeing the difference and the challenges with that. And then, so this kind of effort and energy moves into, rightly so, patience. And, patience isn't talked about a whole lot in just kind of the general teachings of the Buddha, like Four Noble Truths or whatnot, but it's pretty central. I think it's implied in a lot of places. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But one of the things I think about patience is, I think it's about the developing, like part of patience is developing tolerance. And part of that is tolerance with our intolerance. So often, the idea is that meditation is supposed to make us, more spiritual or more patient or more kind. But what often comes up is what? Our intolerance, right? And I've seen this even in spiritual communities where people start becoming intolerant of other people that are like less spiritual, where they're so not mindful. Or, oh my God, that person was walking so fast during meditation. And I see that, I've seen it a little bit in myself, but I try to keep that in check pretty easily, pretty quickly. So anyway, this kind of developing a tolerance with our own intolerance, and that we all have in many ways, we're intolerance. I think there's a lot of that around, some of the political stuff or climate, or just any even just like working or not working. We're always kind of pushed up to, hopefully, and continuing to push about our intolerances. And patience can allow us to kind of step back a little bit. So, I've talked about this before, but one of the translations that trying to think of his name, the teacher. His name's John Smith, teaches at Spirit Rock, and he would use this translation for the word dukkha as impatience. So impatience is dukkha. So to be impatient, to have an intolerance is suffering. And in some ways, impatience is the norm. It's our norm. And patience is like a quality of perseverance, of being with the way things are. Impatience, that we are suffering and want relief now. Like that's part of kind of impatience. Like, I'm impatient, I'm intolerant to my own suffering. So that's one of the things I think we need to learn to gain a little bit of intolerance towards our suffering. Intolerance towards suffering will allow us to maybe do something about it. Ajahn Sucitto writes, pure patience is the kind of acceptance that acknowledges the presence of something without adding anything to it or covering it up. It is supported by the insight that when one's mind stops fidgeting, whining, and blaming, then suffering can be understood. So I like that. I like that quote. So the Buddha overcame, the torments of Mara through patience. He overcame the forces of delusion and anger and fear, aversion and greed through practicing patience. not through blaming anyone or ignoring those forces or running away from them. So when you're stuck in a traffic jam, or anxious for resolution to kind of a crisis, or beset with a kind of a migraine, it's good to remember that the Buddha was here too, and he found his way through. In other words, when we're in that intolerance place, when we're in that agitated state that acts, that's where this kind of the efforting can come into place. One of the ways it's kind of talked about is bearing. It's like bearing with it, or bearing tolerance. Sometimes they talk about karma when we have negative karma, which we can have a whole talk about that. But when we have karma that is not pleasant karma, right? When the waters are rough, when the ocean of karma is stormy, and what do? Well, resisting it only makes it worse. And so in some ways we have to bear it. We have to bear the negative karma to come through, which is in some ways what I think is talked about or is thought about when the Buddha fought Mara, when he was fighting these aspects of his mind, the negative, the hostility, all the greed, the hatred, the delusion. And we have little opportunities to do that all the time. Matter of fact, that's kind of what we're doing, really. And so much of what I think can happen in meditation is that we can drop below, and find that peace and ease, which can then feed, it feeds all of these perfections, all of these paramis, right? Finding that peace and ease, or finding patience, can lead to more effort, more energy. It's not so much mental energy. Patience holds us present with the suffering in a spacious way. So we can open to the suffering and have it be not where there's some resolve there. And encouraging the mind to open, and an open mind both feels more peaceful in itself and more readily sees into the cause of its suffering. So this idea of kind of pushing against suffering or avoiding it, which is what we instinctually do, all of these paramis, right? The renunciation, the following the precepts, the learning to be more generous, I forgot them all. Wisdom, right? The wisdom, the effort, the energy. Each one is building on the foundation of allowing us to kind of transform our suffering a little bit more. Yeah. All right, so I don't know, patience. I feel like it actually is a shift. It's just a shift to when we're kind of leaning into with a little bit of aggression or the impatient quality. I think more likely we'll notice impatience. And then when we have some series of agitation or intolerance, we can shift and choose to rest back in patience. But I think it's important that hopefully you can see this, that patience isn't it's not passive. To be patient isn't passive. It actually takes a lot of effort, in case you've ever really tried it, which I'm sure you have at some point. I was kind of joking earlier, the whole like patience is a virtue. I mean, it is. I mean, that's what they're calling it here in Buddhism, that patience is a virtuous act for ourselves, that it's helping us to see clearly and to be less reactive, particularly less reactive emotionally. So, what does patience help us do? But it checks emotional reactivity. If we can take a breath, kind of set back. I mean, it's helped me quite a bit from doing what I used to do, which was to kind of explode or to react in just a kind of very non-mindful way. So, but it's not passive in the sense that it's just not about reacting. That we're actually, patience it's also not like a numbing resignation. So it's about learning how to transform suffering and step forward in a clear-minded way. One of the things that I really appreciate about activism is the way that it can really cause change, at least, I mean, sometimes very like political change, but more changes like a shift in with the way in which maybe a large group of people view something. Um, but one of the things that I feel like happens a lot with activism is that there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of anger, it's fueled by a lot of this just kind of emotional reactivity, which to some degree can, I think, be useful. But at some point, what I have noticed is that people, they stay locked in that, and they're it's kind of addicted to and chasing the anger, the aggression, because maybe it feels good. Maybe it's just all they've known, or it's a conditioning. So anyway, not necessarily. I'm not like a kind of huge activist, but I am saying kind of like checking the difference between emotional reactivity, which is but not avoiding. We're not avoiding kind of dealing with what's happening for us emotionally when we see things happening in the world, or even just on our street, or it's not about not acting, um, but it's about doing so skillfully. And to have some patience sometimes just means like pause, pause between the stimulus and the reaction. Between the stimulus and the reaction, there's a space. And within that space lies a choice for freedom or a choice for suffering. But if we can't see that, if we haven't developed that, if we haven't developed, I mean, the space is there, but if we haven't developed enough mindfulness to kind of see it and take it, just as, a half a breath, a full breath, 3 breaths, I used to, well, I didn't work directly. I have worked with inmates, but not directly with this particular group, which was in San Quentin. And these were a group of lifers, and many of them violent lifers. I heard this as a secondhand story, but I was working with a guy who would bring meditation into San Quentin prison and work with lifers over a period of time. And many of these lifers, a lot of it was like anger management and meditation and emotional intelligence, social emotional learning. And many of these guys would talk about, 30 seconds between killing someone and not killing someone. And had they taken 30 seconds to take a breath, to slow the process down before they reacted, they would not be doing life in prison or 25 to life, or had killed someone, or robbed that house, or these different kind of. So just like it really, when I heard that story, it really brought it home. Not only have I been in a similar, having been locked up or spent some time in jail, and contemplated, but not as extreme as this group, but just just imagining that, yeah, the difference between life and death is, can be a breath, can be a pause. And many of them lived, the 15, plus years they were uh, locked up at that particular time. This was kind of like maybe 2008, I think. Um, they lived in the gap between the stimulus and the reaction, um, and tried to develop forgiveness and compassion for that 30 seconds. And I just find that it's a touching story to me, and I thought I'd share it. I think it feels like it fits a little bit here. Um, yeah, there is something. I don't know if any of you have worked with inmates, but there's something about long term, like people doing life without parole, that what I have seen is people transform their lives because there's some shift about, it's not about getting out one day and being able to rip and run, and it's like there is like short sometimes short timers. I mean, it sucks to think about it, but short timers in jail tend to be very rambunctious and not very settled, and kind of maybe they're still using and engaging. People that I have experienced who have done a lot of time or had a lot of time, kind of locked up, we talked about it being a spiritual experience, spiritual awakening. What else are you gonna do? If we're all doing time anyway, you know what I mean? That's what this is. How do we want to live this life? What will you do with this one wild and precious life? All right, so with that, think I'll open up questions, kind of comments. Let's go with questions first. And if you're not someone who has spoken up or asked questions in this group, I really want to encourage you to participate, not only for yourself, but also just so others can kind of hear your voice and, um, be a part of. Okay. So, I'm just going to see if there's any. No questions, but Michael did put the book up. With no questions in the. I don't think. Let's see. No. You can write a question or speak up if you'd like. Was this? Hopefully, it was hitting home. Yeah. Cool. Up. Okay, here's a question. Any feelings about acts of heroism that may have not taken place if patience had been practiced? Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I mean, that's another, yeah, great question, and um, at what cost, right? Sometimes we can do that. Sometimes, I mean, what popped into my mind was a time where I intervened in a violent kind of abusive act. And I didn't even think about it. Like it wasn't about patience. It was about action. It was about intervening for the protection of those who were about to be harmed. And I have zero regret. Actually, I feel like sometimes it's really useful. And luckily I had enough mindfulness, and actually I think I was pretty. I remember everything like slowing down, and I was pretty mindful, and I was a bouncer for years. Like I used to kind of break up fights all the time. It was kind of I used to try to do so as kindly as possible. That was kind of my thing. But yeah, so trying to act and to do so, not, most people who act in kind of in heroism or whatever, or kind of are then later called heroes, usually wouldn't accept that label for themselves, and that they were just doing the right thing, doing the thing that needed to be done at the time, is what I think most of the people, what I think they would say. I don't know for sure. Um, yeah. Yeah, I think it's necessary. I also think sometimes um, a pause can be useful, more often than not. Um, and sometimes, yeah, we need to be able to act. And I actually have found that regular mindfulness practice, I mean, I've actually been, since I started meditation, I mean, since you could have brought this up, I don't know, it's a little bit of disclosure, but I have been in many violent situations since starting meditating. And, I was young when I started meditating, and club scenes and punk shows and bar fights and just things that happen. And I feel like mindfulness meditation has really allowed me to be able to kind of to see that space, that pause between stimulus and reaction, and allowed me to be able to respond in as kind and as harmless of a way, if it was personal, or also just to kind of give myself space away from whatever was happening, So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of riffing now, so I'll shut up. Um, Other thoughts or questions that kind of came up about that? Patience being a virtue. Michael.
Thanks, Jason. It's funny because you talk about ripping and running and shows and violence or like past experiences. And I think in the past, you know, being in fights or being involved in with that type of lifestyle is, you know, I I think back then I equated that with flexion or strength, and I
Mm,
look at the Dharma and I look at, we're talking about like patience, and it's just I feel like using equanimity and pause and composure and like spaciousness and like non-reactivity and like just withstanding things in life and realizing that it's all part of this path and it's all a part of impermanence and change and fluidity. And I really just feel like the true strength lies in equanimity and you know I've gotten a little, I stress little, more patient over this year doing Dharma, and I've seen some good change and had some good experience in my life, and it's helped me with a lot. And it's helped me when others have been unskillful as well. And I think recovery, the component of acceptance too, like it is huge too and plays into this. But having that forbearance and that patience and equanimity and just, I feel like that's the true strength, not the old default ways of um of like you mentioned earlier, like flying off the handle. Um, now I don't think I've found in my own experience that flying off the handle doesn't serve me in any way at any time. And this patience parameter, it's really valuable, and it's just something that I try to do better and better each step of the way. So I I appreciate the talk tonight and got a lot out of it.
Great. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, like I was saying, like what I've mentioned about this book. I mean, I'm just gleaming through, a few aspects of what is in this book. Each parami, and I really just like Ajahn Suchito's, his, even just the whole form of the book. It's really done well. Uh, these Thai forest monks, they know their shit, and even though he's British, they're the Thai forest British monks. Know their shit. All right. Well, thank you all for participating in our group, and please just know that we can, you can donate to Against the Stream. I also want to let you know, the 26th, the day after Christmas, we are having a day-long, a meta-a-thon, and that is going to be supporting Against the Stream and supporting Rebel Saints up in Seattle, and we'll be kind of doing a tandem. We're going to do a day-long, so it's a day-long meditation, so they'll be sitting and walking and Dharma talks and instructions, and more sitting and walking and more Dharma talks, and it's just going to be happening throughout the day. And then each one of the teachers at Against the Stream will be doing a portion of it, and I think I'm doing the kind of afternoon portion, so kind of after lunch and whatnot. So you don't have to sign up. You can just show up. But if you want to register to hold yourself accountable, do it. And if you want to just come for part of it, just come for the morning, or just come for the afternoon, or just come for the evening, do it. All right. Thank you all. So we'll just kind of take a moment and bring in all the goodness of our practice. Feeling that breath in the body. Recognizing all the goodness of our practice and the momentum of energy from following the Buddha's teachings and living in this way. And then wishing that all beings may be happy, and that all beings may be peaceful, and that all beings everywhere may be free from suffering, even the ones we don't like.